Where you really felt like you found your role in this team? Because it felt like the first 2 years you were trying to figure out exactly your place in the W.
Everybody does a little bit, and I think it's having that support system to...
Since Caitlin Clark has always been the unbothered queen and is the kind of player who could be shoved, tripped, or even blindfolded during a game and still maintain her composure while acting as though it was all part of the plan, the WNBA is currently in a collective panic over Lexie Hull's decision to reveal some strange secrets about her in the Indiana Fever locker room.
Where you really felt like you found your role in this team? Because it felt like the first 2 years you were trying to figure out exactly your place in the W.
Things are so up in the air that it's hard to know exactly where you fit.
For the first 2 years, you were trying to figure out exactly where you fit in the W, and it seemed like everything was so up in the air that it was difficult to know where you truly felt you discovered your role in this team.
Yeah, I mean, I've read some of my DMs that are hidden, and I refuse to read a lot of them because I know people are upset. And so you kind of forget that there's these people behind the scenes until they come out of the woodwork and say I've been following along this whole time.
She's not here to be silent. She's outspoken, persistent, and tired of seeing her best friend and teammates the objects of absurdity, so she's revealing every bullying incident, embarrassing moment, and insane antics that have somehow remained unnoticed up until this point.
After the season, all of our shots, threes going up, fans are out of their seats and expecting it to go in. So that just feels so good to feel the confidence from.
And as everyone is aware, the Indiana Fever season began as a complete bust. 1 victory, 8 heartbreaking defeats. But for the squad with high expectations, it felt like a full-blown crisis. You could almost feel the tension suffocating the locker room as everyone wondered how a team with so much promise could fall apart so quickly. Both players and fans were preoccupied with the same question. Could they even recover from this mess? Now a key player in the team's comeback, Lexie Hull didn't hold back while discussing the times when the locker room was in disarray. Players were always on edge and on the verge of breaking, and mental and physical exhaustion was the norm. Despite all the stress, there was an underlying belief that they were better than what their record indicated. This belief wasn't naive optimism, but rather a gut instinct hidden beneath layers of frustration.
The following and the spotlight is great, and it's a huge deal for the WNBA and women's sports, but at the end of the day, our job is to perform. We've seen just such a growth year after year, so it's been so fun. The fans in Indiana have been amazing, so just excited to...
When Hull revealed what transpired behind closed doors, everything made sense. The team was in mental turmoil, every defeat was devastating, and players began to question if they belonged in the league, whether their tactics were absurd, or even whether their roles made sense. The shocking thing is that the Fever never turned on each other. Even when it would have been simpler to let the frustration rip them apart, they remained together despite the intense stress that had some players questioning whether it was worth it to keep going.
Realize that the start of the season isn't the biggest deal, it's how we finish and how we get better, and really proud of just the resiliency of the group. Yeah, I think, she sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game.
The Indiana Fever's journey took a crazy turn when Caitlin Clark announced the WNBA draft that day. The sports world was practically short-circuited, and fans who had already witnessed Clark tear it up on the college courts lost their collective minds when the Fever snagged the #1 pick. Then, social media went from barely whispering about the Fever to full-blown fever pitch. They made the impossible decision to trust one another and refuse to point fingers because it was pure stubborn determination that defied all logic, the unity that set the stage for the turnaround that no one saw coming. By the time Clark actually entered the Fever's facilities, the once embarrassing preseason ticket sales had exploded like they had been blasted out of a cannon, and Instagram was a flurry of fan art and excitement, while Twitter was a flurry of Clark to the Fever postings. On April 10, 2023, the team wasn't just receiving attention, it was like a blockbuster movie premiere draft night. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was packed with thousands of fans who were going crazy just watching Clark get picked on screen. The atmosphere was electrifying, as if someone had turned on a stadium-sized amplifier.
She's definitely going to say, you got the next one. I can count on her for keeping me, confident and positive.
However, let's clarify one issue. Clark was already a human highlight, but her influence went beyond her incredible three-point shooting ability and game-changing abilities. Real, but her enthusiasm for the squad was what truly made the difference. When Clark came, there was a seismic shift that Lexie Hull couldn't stop talking about. It seemed as though someone had plugged the entire team into a generator when Clark walked into her first practice, and Hull recalled that it wasn't just her talent but also her humor that had everyone laughing in minutes. No forced jokes, just easy, genuine humor. It didn't take long for the entire team to realize that Clark's legendary competitiveness and ability to make a room full of stressed-out athletes feel like they were at a comedy club rather than practicing for drills were contagious. Hull explained how Clark's insane drive to win spread like wildfire throughout the team, inspiring players who had been dragging their feet and feeling discouraged to suddenly find themselves fired up.
About a lot is it feels like she really imbues everybody with confidence as well. Like she just sort of has this way of thinking big about things. Oh, look, you've been on the Fever for 3 years now, but this year, you go from a rebuilding team to now you guys are selling out arenas. You're a fan favorite.
Clark's presence wasn't just about flashy plays. She was raising the intensity to a level they weren't even aware they had. Then came the moments that demonstrated Clark was more than just a basketball player. Practice was no longer a chore, it was a battlefield, and she made sure everyone was prepared to fight. During a harsh session, Savant, Coach Christ's sides turned up the level to mimic crowd noise. It was so loud that most players were just putting up with it, but Clark didn't skip a beat when she cried, "Can someone turn it off? It's giving me a migraine." When Clark repeated herself, the entire team erupted in laughter, and the tension abruptly subsided. It was ridiculous, unexpected, and it immediately became a legend in the history of the Fever. The room fell silent and no one spoke to Coach Sides like that. Hull described the collective breath everyone held waiting for some sort of explosive reaction.
The number one pick, and once Caitlin declared, that kind of changed things, I think, for the city a little bit. People were just so excited to come support the Fever. We felt that. Yeah, I think like part of my role is just getting to the open spots, and we have such a good offense that people find the open person.
And in the meantime, if we discuss Lexie Hull's transformation with the Indiana Fever, it's like watching a movie where the underdog finally gets her big break. When Hull first joined the WNBA, she was essentially invisible on the court, averaging a meager 12.2 minutes per game and having a depressing shooting percentage of 30.7%. That kind of stat line makes even the most devoted fans wonder if she would be better off as a motivational speaker rather than a player. Sure, she had been a college
competitive aspect of it too. I think it's something you talked about in the past too, that she's just kind of raised the competitiveness level.
Guard on the other team, hitting open shots, being where I need to be, spreading the floor. Like those are things that I can bring to any team. So those are the things that I focus on.
Only a plan. Hull was draining shots and playing with a level of confidence that made everyone question whether this was the same player they'd nearly written off. Fans who didn't even know her name before were now chanting it due to her sincere belief that when someone like Clark, a bona fide superstar, trusts you to deliver, you start playing like you actually can. Then there is Clark's renowned competitive fight fire, which is almost terrifying. Hull would joke that Clark couldn't even handle losing a scrimmage practice, which used to feel like routine warm-ups but instead turned into gladiator-style battles, leaving teammates in disbelief as they watched Hull light up the court as if she had always belonged there. Every practice felt like a high-stakes showdown, and Clark's obsession with winning quickly spread to everyone around her. Players were diving for loose balls like their lives depended on them and clawing for rebounds like they were in the finals, forcing the entire team to step up. Eventually, that unwavering energy began to pay off on game days. Clark was a game changer in the Fever's locker room thanks to his special combination of humor and intensity. Hull frequently talked about how every practice felt like a championship game with Clark around. The scrimmages and drills were fiercer than ever, but there was a strange joy in the air. Clark made every second matter while ensuring that everyone was having fun. That combination of energy was essential for boosting the team's morale and making the effort seem worthwhile. The team's culture was completely changed by Clark's influence, but nowhere was it more noticeable than in Hull's amazing ascent. Hull's comeback was evidence of what can happen when a player's confidence is released, not just the result of her hard work. Hull became the player that everyone thought she could be thanks to Clark's faith. It serves as a reminder of the transformative potential of sincere belief and a monument to the strength of support.